Clark. She fires and goes!
Caitlin Clark got shoved to the hardwood on national television. No ball in the air, no contested play, no basketball reason whatsoever. And her own league said nothing for days. But here is what nobody is actually connecting right now. The player who did it did not lose her career because of that shove. She lost it because of everything the league had been quietly documenting for 6 years. And that shove was simply the last thing they needed before they could finally do what they had likely already decided to do. The people calling this a simple disciplinary case are completely missing the point. And by the end of this video, you are going to see exactly why. Stay with us because you are going to find out the one financial number that tells you everything about how Chennedy Carter's career was actually going long before Clark ever stepped on a WNBA court. You are going to find out the single press conference moment that sealed Carter's fate more than any shove ever could. And finally, the real reason why what the WNBA just did goes far beyond one suspension and why every single player in that league felt it the moment that statement dropped. That last one is bigger than basketball, and we are getting to all of it right now. Quick note before we dive in. Everything you are about to hear is based on publicly available information, verified reports, and our own analysis of what is documented on record. This channel is not affiliated with Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever, or the WNBA. We are not here to take sides. We are here to look at what actually happened and, more importantly, why it happened, and let the facts speak for themselves. All opinions expressed are for entertainment and informational purposes only. We respect every player in this conversation. Now, let us get into it. Before we talk about the shove, before we talk about the ban, before we even get to Caitlin Clark, I need you to sit with one number, $90,000. That is how much the Los Angeles Sparks paid Chennedy Carter. Not to play, not for a trade, not as some kind of mutual buyout after long negotiations. They paid her approximately $90,000, nearly a third of their entire salary cap, just to get her out of their building. Let that land for a second. In a league where most players make well under $100,000 a year, in a league where athletes sometimes take pay cuts just to stay on a competitive roster, one franchise decided that whatever was happening inside their walls was costing them more than $90,000 to keep dealing with. That is not a financial transaction. That is a statement. And the statement says this: whatever is happening here is worth more than 6 figures to make it stop. Now, here is what that number actually represents. It represents the end of Carter's second chapter in the WNBA, because her first chapter had already ended in Atlanta. And the way it ended there told you everything about what was coming next. She came into the league in 2019 as the 4th overall pick. Draft night looked like the beginning of something genuinely special. The Atlanta Dream had their player. A dynamic scorer with elite athleticism, a first step that made defenders look like they were standing in wet concrete before the play even developed. The fan base was excited. The front office was confident. Everything pointed forward. Within months, the organization was having internal conversations that nobody wanted to have publicly. A confrontation in the locker room between Carter and Courtney Williams escalated to a point that rattled the entire organization. And I want you to understand why that specific detail matters more than it might seem on the surface. Courtney Williams is widely regarded as one of the most even-tempered, positive presences in the entire league. She is not someone who creates conflict. By every account from people who have worked alongside her, she is exactly the kind of veteran presence that young players should want in their corner. When a confrontation reaches the point of nearly turning physical with that person, it does not just stay quietly in the locker room. It moves through the whole organization. It changes how coaches approach practice. It changes how the front office thinks about the roster. It changes everything quietly behind closed doors in ways that never make it into a single press release. Carter's time in Atlanta ended. She moved to Los Angeles. Fresh start. New city, Different coaching staff, different teammates, every single ingredient for a reset was right there waiting for her. The pattern followed her anyway. In Los Angeles, during film sessions, the part of professional basketball that never makes the highlights, but is where teams actually build trust and understanding of each other, Carter repeatedly interrupted coaches mid-sentence, dismissed tactical input before it was even finished, walked out of the room entirely, not once, not twice. Enough times that it stopped being an incident and started being a dynamic the entire organization had to navigate around every single week. The Sparks tried, they adjusted, they managed. And then they reached the conclusion that still stops WNBA insiders cold when it comes up in conversation today. They paid her to leave. $90,000. Not for performance, not for a trade, just to close that chapter and move on. So when you watch what happened in Indiana that night, understand something clearly. You are not watching the beginning of a story. You are watching the last chapter of one that started years ago. But the shove itself, the moment that triggered all of this publicly, it was not just about the physicality. There was something about the context it happened in that made it unlike any other hard foul in recent WNBA history. And here is exactly how it went down. Indiana Fever versus Chicago Sky, regular season. Nothing on the surface suggested this night would end up in league history books. The arena was packed with energy that just 2 years ago would have been unthinkable for a mid-season WNBA matchup. That alone told you something about how much this league had changed and how much was now at stake on any given night. Caitlin Clark was doing what she does, threading passes from angles that should not work, pulling up from distances that make defenders look like they arrived at the wrong zip code. The Fever were building momentum possession by possession. Chicago was feeling the pressure and you could see it. Their defensive rotations were breaking down. Frustration was creeping into their body language with every single possession that Clark touched. The Fever were not just winning. They were making Chicago look slow. And on a night with that many eyes watching, that stings differently than just losing a game. Then Chennedy Carter walked up behind Caitlin Clark. No ball in the air, no contested shot, no basketball reason at all. Carter hit her with a full-force shove that sent Clark crashing to the hardwood. Then she walked away, did not check on her, did not make eye contact, moved like something completely routine had just occurred. The arena went silent. And I do not mean the kind of quiet that follows a hard foul where fans immediately start reacting. This was different. This was the kind of quiet where thousands of people stop breathing at the exact same time because they just watched something that was not supposed to happen. Something that crossed a line most people did not even know existed until the moment it got crossed. The replays came, multiple angles, slow motion, and from every single one it looked identical, deliberate, calculated, with no basketball purpose whatsoever. A veteran analyst sitting courtside put it plainly. In 15 years covering women's basketball, I have seen hard fouls, heated moments, physical play. But this was different. There was no basketball purpose to it. None. Now here is what I want you to pay close attention to. What Clark did next. She got up, dusted herself off, and kept playing. No trash talk, no glare back toward Carter. No invitation for more. A rookie in her first professional season, carrying more media pressure than any player in WNBA history, just got shoved to the floor on national television. And her response was to play the next possession like a professional. A former WNBA All-Star watching this unfold said it plainly. You cannot teach that. That is leadership showing itself early. But here is the truth. The shove, as significant as it was not the moment that ended Chennedy Carter's career. That moment came later. In a room with no basketball. Just a microphone, a table, and 30 seconds that Carter is never getting back. Post-game press conference. Carter walked in with her arms already crossed, eyes rolling before the first question was even asked. An audible sigh picked up clearly by the microphone. When a reporter asked her directly about the incident with Clark, she said this: "I am focused on New York right now. I am not really focused on that play anymore. It happened. It is just basketball. It just happened. Like it is over with. I do not know why we are dragging it." The room went quiet in a way that was different from the arena. When pressed further, asked whether she had any regrets about not addressing it sooner, Carter doubled down. "No, I do not have any regrets not addressing it right away." A media veteran who has covered major sports stories for decades said this afterward. "I have covered a lot of press conferences. That was the first time I watched a player end their own career in real time. Because what the league was watching was not a player who had made a mistake and was protecting herself in the moment. They were watching a player who genuinely could not see why any of it mattered, could not access the basic self-reflection that professional growth requires, could not meet the moment with even the minimum level of accountability. And that is a fundamentally different problem. It leads to a fundamentally different response." The WNBA's statement was unusually direct. Carter's actions were described as a deliberate assault inconsistent with the values of professional basketball. No softening, no diplomatic cushioning. The league chose those words carefully, and everyone inside it understood exactly what they meant. The punishment was an indefinite suspension with conditions for reinstatement. Now, most coverage stops right there. They hear conditions for reinstatement and assume it is standard procedure. Sit a player down, set some boxes to check, bring them back when the dust settles. It is not standard. Not even close. Multiple sources confirmed what many inside the league had already suspected. Those conditions were specifically designed to be nearly impossible to satisfy. This was not a cooling-off period. This was not a teachable moment with a clear path back. The league needed to protect themselves legally from challenges that come with a permanent ban, so they built something more sophisticated. A suspension that functions as a ban without officially being called one. A locked door with a combination they never gave her. Over 500 hours of community service. That is nearly a full year of work while simultaneously trying to maintain the conditioning of a professional athlete. Behavioral assessments with no defined endpoint. A probationary period so restrictive that even if Carter somehow cleared every single hurdle, her earnings and freedom of movement would still be severely limited afterward. One senior team executive, speaking without their name attached, did not bother with careful language. This is career execution. They just did not use that word. The financial damage attached to all of this goes well beyond what most people realize when they hear the word suspension. Lost contract money. Endorsement deals that did not pause. They ended. Brands that were in active negotiation with Carter's representation pulled out within days. In today's WNBA, where star players are finally attracting real sponsorship dollars for the first time in league history, that pipeline closing is not a minor inconvenience. It is a fundamental shift in what her entire earning potential looks like going forward. Some projections put the total career earnings gap above $4 million. She is 25 years old. She had the physical tools for a long and decorated career. One thing got in the way. Not an injury, not bad luck. Choices. And choices, unlike injuries, do not heal on their own. But here's the part of this story that nobody is talking about loudly enough. The most damning reaction to Carter's ban did not come from the league office. It did not come from Clark. It came from the locker room that Carter had shared with her own teammates all season long. And what they did, or more precisely, what they did not do, is the part of this story that should genuinely make you stop and think. You need to understand something about WNBA culture before I tell you what happened next. Player solidarity in this league is real and it is deep. When one of them gets disciplined, teammates show up. Character references get written, statements get released. Players who were not even involved find microphones and use them. It is a culture of standing together built over years in a league that had to fight just to exist and be taken seriously. When Chennedy Carter's ban came down, her Chicago Sky teammates said absolutely nothing. Not one public statement, not one anonymous quote suggesting the punishment felt excessive. Nothing came from the locker room she had shared with these women for an entire season. No defense, no support, no quiet suggestion that the league had gone too far. Complete, total silence. In any other circumstance, that silence would be unusual. Given the WNBA's culture of solidarity, it is extraordinary. Because staying quiet when a teammate gets disciplined is not neutral in this league. It is a choice. And every single person in that organization understood exactly what their silence was communicating to the outside world. And then there was Angel Reese. Reese and Carter had appeared to form a genuine connection during the season. They were photographed together at team events. They interacted publicly in ways that suggested a real friendship, developing not just polite coworker energy, but something that looked like two people who genuinely enjoyed each other's company. Fans noticed it. Media noticed it. It seemed like a real bond between two big personalities on the same roster. Within hours of the shove, Reese unfollowed Carter across every social media platform she was on. No announcement, no explanation, no post, no story, no vague reference. Just gone. As clean and deliberate as a door closing. Now here is what makes that significant. Reese did not have to do that publicly. She could have quietly created distance without anyone noticing for weeks. Instead, the unfollow happened fast enough and visibly enough that it registered immediately across social media. Whether that was fully intentional or not, the effect was identical. It told everyone watching exactly where Angel Reese stood, and it told them without using a single word. And when you go back and look at the social media activity in the weeks leading up to that night, you start to see things differently. Subtle unfollows within the team, cryptic posts from players about respecting the game and knowing your role. Carter's name conspicuously absent from team bonding content that featured nearly everyone else on the roster. Individually, each of those things is easy to dismiss as coincidence. Together, they form a picture. A locker room that had already been pulling away from Carter long before the night in Indiana. These were not random coincidences. They were signals from people watching something unfold from the inside that never made it into a press release and never became a headline until it was too late to contain. So when you look at all of it together, the $90,000 in Los Angeles, the locker room confrontations in Atlanta, the film sessions where coaches were walked out on the press conference with the arms crossed and the rolling eyes, and finally, the absolute silence from the teammates who knew her best, a picture emerges. And it is not a picture about one shove. It is a picture about what happens when someone with real talent consistently refuses to grow. And here's the thing about that picture. We have all seen a version of it before. In sports, in workplaces, in our own lives. Here is what this story is actually about beyond the basketball. Chennedy Carter had real talent. Everybody who knows the game acknowledges that. A first step that defenders could not stay in front of. Finishing ability that should have translated to years of production. Defensive intensity that coaches genuinely dream about. Nobody is disputing any of that. But talent without accountability is a car without a steering wheel. It might move fast for a while. At some point, it crashes. What makes Clark's response to all of this worth studying, and I want to be clear here because Clark is not perfect, and nobody is, what makes her response different, is not her shooting range. It is not her passing vision. It is her willingness to be imperfect in public and keep moving forward anyway. Every time a reporter brought up Carter in a subsequent interview, Clark redirected the conversation. Back to basketball, back to team goals, back to the next game. No drama, no invitation for more noise. She did not silence the controversy by arguing with it. She silenced it by playing. And there is a blueprint in that for people who have nothing to do with professional basketball. When a system seems designed to slow you down and the crowd still shows up for you anyway, that is not luck. That is proof that doing the work in silence eventually speaks louder than any controversy ever could. The WNBA's viewership is up 87% year over year. Merchandise is at historic highs. Clark is a significant part of why that growth is happening. When the league chose to send the strongest disciplinary message in its recent history, they were also choosing which version of their league they want to build going forward. That choice was not a difficult one to make. Carter's story will be told in locker rooms and team meetings for years, not as a story about a shove, as a story about what happens when someone refuses to grow. The WNBA drew a line. Not just for Carter, for every player watching. Talent gets you in the door. Professionalism is what keeps you there. Now, I want to hear from you. If Caitlin Clark has ever given you a moment that made you jump out of your seat, a logo 3, a no-look pass, a play that made you say out loud, "How did she even see that?" drop a basketball emoji in the comments right now. Let us see how many people are actually paying attention to what is happening in this league. And give me your honest take on this. Do you think the WNBA did the right thing with Carter? Or do you think there are other players in that league who deserve the exact same level of accountability and have not gotten it yet? Drop your real opinion below. We read every single comment. We do not delete opinions. This comment section is for the real conversation, not the safe one. And every comment, every share, every person you send this to, that is how the full story reaches people who only caught the headlines. If you think the truth matters more than the narrative, make some noise right now. Now you know the real story behind this ban, not just the shove, the 6 years of signals that led to it. But I will tell you this, Carter's story is not the most complicated one in this conversation right now. There is another player whose position in this league at this exact moment makes everything you just heard look like the opening act. I already made a video about it. And trust me, you do not want to miss it. It is right there on your screen.